Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak. It's July 3rd, 2020, Eve of Independence Day. And President Trump is brave to have celebration for Independence Day on Mount Rushmore. As we know, defund police initiated destruction of all monuments, starting from Confederate to American monuments, even people destroying George Washington's statues. As Heerak Christian Kim, that's who I am, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, warned, once you allow the mob to destroy Confederate monuments and burn Confederate flags, they will burn United States Star-Spangled Banner flags, and they will destroy statues of American presidents like Woodrow Wilson, President George Washington. Nothing is sacred to defund police and Antifa. They're a communist, Marxist organization engaging in terroristic activities. And I applaud President Trump for executive order to arrest everyone who destroys monuments, including Confederate statues of Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee, with mandatory sentence of 10 years in prison. How everybody who tried to destroy Robert E. Lee statue will go to prison for 10 years and rot in prison. And I hope that everyone who tries to destroy Stonewall Jackson statues in Virginia will be arrested and sent to prison for 10 years to rot in prison. And hopefully they get killed inside the prison. They deserve it. Disrespect for laws filters onto disrespect for God's law. That's why homosexuality is proliferating in America, because Romans chapter 1, God's law is being ignored. Disrespect for the law. Defund police must end their existence. And every American must be dedicating to ending the existence of defund police terrorist movements that seek to destroy American history, America's past, America's culture. And we must applaud President Trump for attacking defund police as a racist organization that is bent on destroying America's history and all that is good in America. We should thank God that President Trump is the president now, because if we had Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden as president in year 2020, America as a nation would have been destroyed. So let's thank God for President Trump, that he is the president of the United States now. He is God's servant, issuing executive order to ban illegalized transgender in the U.S. military, kicking out all transgender in the U.S. military. That's the best thing he did in the last 4 years in God's stuff. Because God hates transgender people. God hates homosexuals. Romans chapter 1 is explicit in showing that God hates all homosexuals. Not just the homosexual act, but homosexuals as people. That's why the Bible is unified in calling for death penalty for all homosexuals. And as I said, Heerak Christian Kim, that's who I am, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, makes a campaign promise to you that if you elect me for U.S. Congress on November 3rd, 2020, my first priority will be to illegalize homosexuality by passing a bill and making it into law. And President Trump will sign it, illegalize all homosexuals in the United States with minimum sentence of death penalty. We need to purify America from the evils of homosexuality, which God demands. And vote for me, Heerak Christian Kim, for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I will purify this land by passing a law through U.S. Congress to arrest every single homosexual in the United States of America, in all 50 states, with minimum sentence of death. As we know, Germany executed all of its homosexuals, along with all the Jews in the Holocaust. History shows us that it can be done. Obviously, homosexuality is against the will of God. Romans 1 promises God's wrath for nations, for peoples who tolerate and proliferate homosexuality. That's why we as Americans are suffering from COVID-19, because this is wrath of God that is promised. In Revelation chapter 1, God will send plague after plague until the United States of America comes into compliance with God's law in Romans chapter 1. And throughout the Holy Bible, it's unified that we must illegalize homosexuality. We must use our police officers to arrest every homosexual in America and then process them through the court system with mandatory sentence of death. That is the will of God. Death penalty was created by God. And I've mentioned before, Roman Catholic Church supported the death penalty for 2,000 years. And the current opposition among some against death penalty is going against the law of God. They need to come back to the traditional position that was held for 2,000 years.
Cardio burns fat.
Yes, cardio does burn fat. But you know that most people in America die from heart attacks and cardiovascular diseases. So COVID-19 is one of the ways you can die, but there are many other ways you can die during COVID-19 era. That's through heart attacks, other types of heart disease, heart failure. And what is related with cardiovascular event is stroke. And many young people have been recorded as having a brain stroke kind of a event with COVID-19. Nobody really knows what COVID-19 is. It triggers bodily breakdown on many levels, not just the lung, but cardiovascular system. And scientists, doctors, nurses don't know what COVID-19 actually does. They see what it does and they're shocked because there's something new coming up every week, something new that COVID-19 does. Because it is the wrath of God from a spiritual angle for homosexuality. As Reverend Jerry Falwell and Reverend Pat Robertson has emphasized on 9/11, God is punishing America for homosexuality. We should have turned back from homosexuality and illegalized homosexuality when 9/11 happened. But unfortunately, there are many billionaires and millionaires who are homosexuals, and they are constantly pushing America toward pro-homosexuality position. You understand why Germany had to annihilate Jews, because from the Christian perspective in Germany, there's so many billionaire Jews in Germany who wanted to push homosexuality in Germany that they felt like they had no choice but to annihilate Jews. So you could say, well, there are good Jews, maybe, but Remember, homosexuality has existed in Germany for 1800s, for like 100 years, over 50 years. We call this the golden age of homosexuality in the modern era until America became very pro-homosexuality. And Germans celebrated homosexuality. Germans encouraged homosexuality. Many people were becoming homosexuals. And eventually the tide started to turn. Not among Christians, but among atheists. Atheists started to think about the concept of eugenics and progeny. How can you reproduce and perpetuate the human race when you have man having sex with man and women having sex with women? So many secular scientists, based on the principle of survival of the fittest, adaptation, and survival of the species, human species, pushed for extermination of the Jews. So it's not really a Christian activity, although many Christians have perpetrated violence against Jews for many other reasons throughout 2,000 years of human history, like during the Russian pogroms, the Cossacks, they just spontaneously started killing Jews in the pogroms. And they had their reasons. Obviously, Jews say it's anti-Semitism. Cossacks say, well, they had a legitimate reason. After the Bolshevik Revolution, and they're not Christians, they exterminated, according to historians, far more than the Holocaust, like 10 million Jews in Russia. And their reasons were different than Germany. Germany exterminated the Jews because of what it perceived as a type of immorality. Because after a while, for a society to continue, there has to be law and order. If you see a lot of homosexuals, they support defund police and they support Antifa. They support destroying Confederate statues. And you begin to realize that there's a correlation between homosexuality and anarchistic movements. And that's what the Germans saw. Germans realized that most of the homosexual intellectuals and educators were dedicated to deconstructing society to further homosexual agenda. And so non-Christians, atheists who were Germans, scientists, they said, we cannot have society completely destroyed. And so atheists started to push for annihilation of Jews and homosexuals. Interestingly enough, in Germany, that meant alliance with Christianity, because Christianity, obviously, as a religion, holds to God's law, which demands death of all homosexuals. And throughout 2,000 years of human history in Western civilization, Christians do not have too much problem with extermination of Jews. They still don't. Like if an extermination process against Jews were to start in America, I guarantee you, you will not see Americans blocking it. We're talking about 330 million Americans will support it. You don't think that's true? What do you think happened for 2,000 years? Like when Cossacks were killing Jews throughout Russia in spontaneous violence, you know what the police did? Defund police. You know what the police did? They looked the other way. They did not arrest a single Cossack who killed Jews. In fact, a lot of the police officers, defund police, joined in the festivities, and it became a national pastime in Russia. This was 1890 to 1910. There were several waves of pogroms against Jews. Obviously, Jews say anti-Semitism, Jews have their perspective. Obviously, Christians have our perspective. Atheists have their perspective. Cossacks have their perspective. Everybody has different perspectives. Defund police think it's okay to defund police and kill police. There are a lot of police officers getting shot at and killed throughout America right now because of defund police. From the perspective of defund police, that's totally legitimate. Obviously, I don't agree. President Trump doesn't agree. Because we don't see in the way defund police sees, we don't see their perspective as being legitimate. We understand what they're saying. We're saying they're wrong. President Trump is saying defund police is wrong. I'm saying defund police is wrong. Heerak Christian Kim. But how many homosexuals do you think will say defund police is wrong? Just ask your homosexual friends to see. Zoom them, call them, text them, email them, and ask them, do you think defund police is wrong? I guarantee you, over 80% of homosexuals will support defund police. Because as Nazi Germany showed us, homosexuals are interested in deconstructing the society, destroying traditions in society, destroying the past history of society, because they have an agenda to push homosexuality in society. They can't do that in the context of a tradition that persists for hundreds of years, because that tradition is against homosexuality. So whether it's in pre-Nazi Germany or America, pre-defund police America, you're going to have homosexuals trying to deconstruct society at every level, in the educational system, in nursing schools, in medical schools, in PhD programs, in master's programs. You're going to have that because that existed in Germany. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything that is happening in America happened already in Germany in 1800s. That's why you should study history, because everything happens again and again. And Holocaust most likely will happen in America. And like in Germany, 100% of the population will support it. You don't think that's true? As I said, in Russia, all of the friends of the Jews, best friends of the Jews, some are married to Jews, they all supported pogroms against the Jews. Police, defund police, did not arrest a single person. Defund police. Now, let's look at Germany. When Germany decided to kill all the homosexuals and all the Jews, because obviously Jews were leading pro-homosexuality movements in Germany, like in America, how many Jews do you know who oppose homosexuality? Even Republicans who are Jews support homosexuality. There's nothing different. Jews are the same in Germany, in America. Jews have been the same for 2,000 years. They have not changed at all. Every society they go to, they try to deconstruct society, push homosexuality. It happens in every country. Why do you think Jews keep getting killed? Do you think like Jews are right and that Gentiles are always wrong? Maybe Jews are always wrong and Gentiles are always right. Why do you think all the Germans decided to kill all the Jews? Were they all mentally ill? All 100% of Germans suddenly became mentally ill? Is that what you're saying? When 100% of the German population decided to kill Jews, the Nazi government did not force them to kill Jews. What do you think was happening in Germany? Do you think Hitler sent SS officers to every citizen with a gun, forcing them to kill Jews? Is that what you think that happened in Germany? That Hitler sent his SS to force every German to kill Jews? Is that what you think happened? This is why you should study history. It's not that Hitler forced Germans to kill the Jews. Germans wanted to kill all the Jews, so they voted in Hitler. Do you know that in 1929, the year that Hitler was elected to be the Chancellor of Germany, which is like the President of Germany, German Medical Association, which is equivalent to American Medical Association, AMA, which is basically the professional organization of all the medical doctors in America, American Medical Association. You could Google them if you want. So the German Medical Association is medical association of all the Germans. In their professional organization, German Medical Association voted to forbid any Jews from practicing medicine. That's right. In 1929, every medical doctor who was Gentile supported a measure, official ethics measure by German Medical Association to prevent every Jewish doctor in the whole country of Germany from practicing as a medical doctor. As you know, Albert Einstein came out of Germany. He was a physicist. But I assure you, there were medical doctors who were Jewish, who were Nobel Prize winning level doctors in Germany. But German Medical Association said, we don't care. We don't care if Jews can discover a cure for a disease that's killing every German. We don't care. We just don't want Jews to practice medicine in Germany. That's right. 100% of German Jewish doctors were forbidden to practice medicine. And I assure you, just like America, there were a lot of Jewish doctors in Germany. Think about this. Einstein was a professor of physics in Germany. He was one of the greatest professors of physics in Germany. He was forbidden to do research in physics to the extent that he had to leave Germany to come to America. Yes, Germans did not care that he was a genius. They said, if he's a Jew, we don't want him. So it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're Jewish, they don't want you to work as a professor in a university. They didn't want you to work as a medical doctor saving lives. They said, we'd rather have Gentiles die than be healed by Jewish doctors. That's what German doctors said. So even though there were Nobel Prize winning level medical doctors who were Jewish, the German people said, we don't want them. We don't want to be treated by Jews. Not only did German people say that, German doctors said, we don't want our colleagues to practice medicine in Germany as doctors. Even though I respect their research, they're Jewish, therefore we don't want them to practice medicine. That's what the doctor said. So the question is, how did Jews get so hated in Germany? Well, Jews will say to you, because it's anti-Semitism. We are perfect, we are good, but all the Gentiles are evil, and it's anti-Semitism. That's what Jews will tell you. And they brainwash your children in America's university by telling them the same thing. It's always the Gentiles who are anti-Semitic. Jews, we are perfect, we are good, we have no faults, but it's the evil Gentiles who have anti-Semitism. That's why they want to kill us, or they want to kick us out of their country, like in Spain in 1492, in the edict of expulsion of Jews. So who's correct? Both cannot be correct. Right? Either Jews are right or Gentiles are right. So in Germany, 100% of the Gentile doctors came to agree that no Jewish doctor should practice medicine, despite the shortage of doctors in Germany, knowing that many Germans will die as a result of not having doctors who are Jewish practice medicine in Germany. This was 1929, after World War I, when Germany was poor, and needed doctors. Why would they do that? Did they all suddenly have mental illness? Or was it that Jews were so offensive, they offended the German people to such an extent, there was no one in Germany who wanted to defend them? You know, doctors in Germany in 1929 are just like doctors in America in 2020. They're scientific, they're educated. Many of them are kind of politically left. So how did they all come to this position that every Jew who's a doctor cannot practice medicine, that they must, by policy, prevent Jewish doctors from practicing medicine? How did this happen? Aren't you curious? Jews would say, in a very simplistic way, like treating you like first graders, it's anti-Semitism. They think that explains everything. Somehow, Jews are perfect, Gentiles are evil. Now let's go to America. Look at how crowded July 3rd celebrations are in Mount Rushmore. They see the same news that I see, that you see, that 10,000 people in Florida got COVID in one day. They see the same news that I see, that you see, that over 120,000 Americans have died from COVID-19 from March till now. So why is it that they're all there celebrating with President Trump? That should help you understand something about people and how they are. People don't always act in the way that you want them to act. Obviously, it seems irrational that Gentile doctors in Germany would want to prevent all Jews who are doctors, we're talking about thousands of them, from practicing medicine in Germany just because they're Jewish. You would think that's irrational. But obviously, highly educated German doctors who are Gentiles did not think that was irrational. So the question is, why did they all come to that conclusion? Aren't you curious? And second question is it possible for America's Gentile medical doctors to come to the same conclusion? Because history repeats itself. If it happened in Germany, it could happen in France, it could happen in America, it could happen in England. Because people are people. It's not like educated people in Germany who are all irrational. In fact, rationality has been celebrated, and Germany was considered the most educated, academically advanced country in the world at that time, far more academically advanced than America. Intellectualism was demanded in every professional organization. And in 1800s, homosexuality was celebrated, embraced by German Medical Association, German Nurses Association, German educational associations, exactly like what's happening in America. Nothing is new. Nothing is new in history. When German government decided to kill Jews, it wasn't that Hitler was forcing everybody to kill Jews. That's the misconception that people have. It's not that Hitler forced people to do what they did not want it. It's that people wanted Hitler to do this for them. Do you understand? In other words, it was a democratic process of we, the people in Germany, who said we do not want Germany to continue to push homosexuality as a nation. We don't want Germany to push a deconstructionism in society. We want to celebrate our German history. We want to embrace our German statues. We want to embrace our German traditions. We're sick of liberals and liberal progressives trying to deconstruct our history. That's what happened. Why was President Trump elected in 2016? Have you thought about that? Ted Cruz, who's a famous senator, lost to an unknown politician with no political experience, President Trump. Why did that happen? Why did Jeb Bush, the brother of our president, two-term president George W. Bush, lose so horrifically in Republican primaries? How about Marco Rubio? He's a slick guy, who's a nice guy. People like him. Why did he not even come close to winning the Republican primaries? Have you asked yourself that? Do you remember what Trump was doing? What was happening in his rallies? People were flying the Confederate flag. White nationalist, Aryan Nation, KKK members were filling President Trump's arena. And President Trump embraced them. That's why he won. See, you assume that America supports defund police. There's only 10% of America that's black. 90% of America is non-black. President Trump can win second term without a single black vote, single Asian vote, single Hispanic vote. All he needs is white vote. That's all he needs. You assume that all white people support defund police. I assure you that's not the case. You support, a lot of Asians support defund police. I assure you, over 80% of Asians do not support defund police. Maybe over 90%. You assume that Hispanic Americans support defund police. I will assure you, at least 80 to 90% of Hispanics in America do not support defund police. I dare you to go around from Hispanic house to Hispanic house in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, and ask them if they support defund police. Nobody wants to live in a city which is dangerous, run by gangs, criminals. Nobody wants that, except people who support defund police. Let's count up all the protesters during George Floyd protest for 2 weeks. You can't even count 2 million among the protesters. America is a country of 330 million people. George Floyd protests are insignificant. They don't matter. You think they matter? They don't matter. Just because several Republican senators start bending the knee to defund police doesn't make it that Americans support that. If you remember, Ted Cruz lost to President Trump, who supported white supremacists in 2016. Marco Rubio lost to President Trump, who in 2016 supported white supremacists. I assure you, there are far more Americans who identify with white supremacy than who don't. You may be shocked that I'm saying this. I'm a historian. I'm making a historical assessment about America based on the fact that President Trump was voted in when he was embracing white nationalists. That should tell you something. He beat out all the establishment Republicans in the primaries. And he won the national election because he embraced white nationalism. I'll assure you, majority of white Americans do not condemn many of the principles the white supremacists stand for. You're shocked by this. That's because you're not white. You're not white. That's why you're shocked by this. Because you think you, as an Asian, you as a black person, you as a Hispanic person, your perspective is right. That's what you think. That's why you're shocked at this assessment. But how did President Trump win in 2016? So all he needs is not even 100% of the white vote. All he needs is the majority of the white vote to become president. That's true for every presidential race, not just Trump. President Trump galvanized white support for him because he was extremely right-wing and supported white nationalists. That got all the white people excited. Or a lot of white people excited. Enough so that he became president. Let me give you some stats here. Less than 30% of Americans go to college. 70% of Americans do not go to college. And out of the 30% who go to college, they generally have a bachelor's degree just to get a job. It's not like their worldview was changed in college. They just take the classes. Many people go to college from their home. They commute from home. Like my best friend, Ed Mozang, he commuted from home every day. My friend Joe Garvard, who was at University of Pennsylvania with me, commuted from home every day. Yeah. A lot of Americans go to school from home. So out of the 30% of Americans who have college degree, at least half of them commuted from home to get their degree. You assume like everybody thinks like you. They don't. If you're Jewish, you are in 2%. 98% of Americans do not think like you, do not share your value system. You may think that they do, they don't. And you can't change it. And that's why we call human history. There's no way you can change it. That's why we call culture. You can try to destroy culture, but it always resurfaces. You know that Japanese Americans tried to destroy Korean culture for 35 years? Japan occupied Korea from 1910 to 1945, calling it East Asia co-prosperity sphere. They said, let's all get rich together. We're in it together. And they said, Korean culture hinders us from uniting. So let's destroy Korean culture. Let's unite under this progressive Japanese culture. So they tried to destroy everything that was Korean. It's kind of like defund police wanted to destroy Confederate statues and Confederate flag, everything that resembles Confederacy or slavery, they want to destroy. It's kind of like that. And Japan used laws to do it. So that's what defund police thinks. They could use coercion and laws to force people to comply. But as we know from history, you cannot get anything done through coercion. You cannot force people to do things that they don't want to do. So when today, a lot of Americans go to Mount Rushmore, you need to see this as a kind of protest. Yes, they're celebrating July 4th. Yes, they want to support President Trump, but they want to show America they don't care what you're saying. They don't care what you're saying about COVID-19, how it spreads. They don't care. They know they could die from this maybe, but they're like, hey, we want to prove that we don't care. That's their point. And I see CNN, and I think a lot of people in CNN don't understand this because they're not white. You have to be white to understand things like this. People do things just to spite you. That's a very important part of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture. They will do something just to spite you. And that is the shocking thing about human nature that some people don't understand. Like in Germany, they forbade every Jew from practicing medicine, even though their level was Nobel Prize winning level. They were the best surgeons in Germany just to spite the Jews in Germany. They said, we'd rather have our people die than be treated by you. And that's what's happening with President Trump supporters there. They're like, yes, we could get COVID and die, but screw you. Screw you. We're going to do this just to spite the media, just to spite the liberal media. We're going to show up there. So you're going to get all huffy and puffy and condemn us. We're going to just do this just to spite you. That is white America. And they may do it with a smile on their face, with politeness, but they're doing this to spite you. And this is white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture that you will never be able to change. I mean, I recommend if you're Jewish American to convert to Christianity, because I think that's the safest way for you to survive. Because there's a reason why Jews get killed every few years throughout 2,000 years of human history. I mean, if you believe in Judaism, then you should be willing to die for it. But if you don't believe in Judaism, the smartest thing to do is to convert to Christianity and get rid of your Jewish identity. What good does your Jewish identity do for you? It's irrational. I mean, geez, Jews get killed again and again throughout 2,000 years. And you're going to remain a Jew and you don't even believe the Bible. You don't even follow the Torah. You don't even Shomer Shabbat and Shomer Kashrut. Keep the Sabbath day or keep kosher laws, and you're going to remain a Jew. How stupid is that? I mean, the Jews in Germany who converted to Christianity, they didn't die in the Holocaust. Many of the Nazi SS officers were Jewish. How is anybody going to know you're not Jewish? I mean, that you're Jewish if you convert to Christianity and don't live like a Jew, don't go to synagogue. How are they going to know you're Jewish? A lot of SS officers were Jews who converted to Christianity. They blend in. Well, what are they going to do? Do a genealogy check to like 5th generation? I mean, Hitler was Jewish. He was 1/8 Jewish. His grandmother was Jewish. So if you're a secular Jew, you should convert to Christianity just to survive the future Holocaust or future pogrom and renounce your Jewish identity. Just wipe it out. I mean, what is Jewish culture? Let's be honest. What is Jewish culture? I mean, can you tell me what Jewish food is? I could tell you what Korean food is. I could tell you what German food is. I could tell you what Polish food is. What's Jewish food? You know what Jews will tell you? They'll say Jewish food is like skvanio, like jelly donut from Poland. No, that's Polish food. Or it's like potato pancakes, I guess. No, that's like Polish food. It's not Jewish food, it's Polish food. What is Jewish food? I mean, what is Jewish culture? It doesn't even make sense. Like Yiddish culture, Germans who speak Yiddish. What is Yiddish? It's a dialect of German. It's like speaking Bayern German, or Hessen German. Yiddish is just a dialect of German because there were Jews living in Germany speaking in German dialect. They wrote it in Hebrew letters, but it's a German dialect. Like if you know German, you could understand Yiddish. And this Yiddish is the language that is spoken by German Jews who came over to America to survive the Holocaust. There are a lot of things that are happening in America that needs elaboration and explanation. Why should majority of Americans who are Christians, who condemn homosexuality, who follow the Bible, have to live under the coercion of the very few who seek to control the majority of Americans? Why? So Christians should not get jobs. Christians should not get promotions because they're Christians who believe that God is true, Jesus is God. So 90% of Americans who are Christians must become slaves to like 2%. Where is the justice in that? Who gave less than 2% of the population the right to dictate ethics and morality for America? Who? And that's why Germans got mad. That's why Germans got mad enough to say, we do not want any Jews to practice medicine in America, in Germany. You don't think this can happen in America? I assure you it can happen in America. Because most of Americans are anti-Semitic. They hate Jews. The greatest amount of anti-Semitism is in the Black community. Blacks hate Jews. Whites hate Jews. Hispanics hate Jews. In fact, anti-Semitism unites America. That's where they could say, we are all in it together. You want to see America unite under the banner of anti-Semitism? You don't think that can happen? It happened in Germany, a country which was heaven for Jews, paradise for Jews in 1800s, where everybody wanted to marry a Jewish woman in 1800s because she was so desirable. You think like Germany was always Nazi Germany? No. It is a country where Jews enjoy the greatest wealth, greatest power, greatest political positions, greatest influence in the world in 1800s. So why did German Jews lose all their friends? Have you thought of that before? Why did every friend of Jews turn against them? Not only turn against them, but reported them to the Gestapo and had them executed, knowing that they were going to be executed. Why do you think they did that? You think anti-Semitism explains everything? Well, Jews are giving you their perspective. I don't know too many Christians who have a problem with the Holocaust, to be honest with you. I haven't met too many Christians who think Holocaust was wrong. Well, they'll say that to Jews just to please them, just to shut them up, because they go whapping, all the time, just to shut them up. Yeah, Holocaust was bad. Holocaust was evil. Just to shut them up because they just keep talking and talking and talking. I don't know too many true Christians who have a problem with the Holocaust. Oh, they say they have a problem. They don't. Really. They're not going to lose any sleep over it. 6 million Jews dead. Yay. You think Americans lost sleep over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where atom bombs were dropped? I assure you, over 90% of Americans do not lose even one drop of sleep over all that death. It's us versus them. And that justifies it. And that's what the Gentile doctors in Germany said. It's us versus them. They want to take our jobs away. They want to destroy our religion. Screw you. We will destroy your religion. We'll take everything away from you. That's what the Germans said. But that's been said over and over again in 2,000 years of history, hasn't it? For 2,000 years, Gentiles have been saying that. And Gentiles from different countries, different cultures, different languages have been saying that. So why do Jews in America think that they could survive a Holocaust in America? They won't. Because history always repeats itself. Just like Jews did not survive in Russia in the pogroms, 1890 to 1910, just like Jews did not survive Holocaust in Germany from 1930s. Jews will not survive the Holocaust in America. That's 100% guaranteed. Because history is always correct. It's not what you want. It's not how much force you can use that's going to prevent the force of history. Force of history is predominant. Jews will not survive a Holocaust in America if it starts. All you need is the right us versus them conflict. You'll see it happen. You should study Jewish history. It's very interesting. For 2,000 years, the patterns repeat again and again and again. They always think like their non-Jewish friends love them. Every time. Like Jews think like their Gentile friends love them. They may love their money. They may like them, for what they could get out of the Jews. But they don't love Jews. Why do you think every single one of Jewish friends in Nazi Germany offered them up to death? They knew that when they called 911, the German Jews would be killed. Why did they do it? Nazi Germany did not force them to do it. They just voluntarily called and reported all the Jews. Why do you think they did it? Some people say, well, the Schadenfreude, you know how friends are jealous of each other? But would you want your friends to die because you're jealous of them? Most people no. But Schadenfreude doesn't explain it, at least normal ones. When you try to destroy people's culture and history, you have to be prepared for the retribution and retaliation that will come. Because it will come. It always does in history. You cannot destroy another people's culture without what Hindus call karma. Jews have absolutely no power in America, and they don't know it because they're full of themselves. Jews have no power. Only power that Jews have in America, just like the power that Jews had in Germany, were the power that were given to them by the Gentiles, which can be taken away at any time. Because Jews don't understand this, they keep getting killed over and over again in history. As I said, most American Christians don't care about the Holocaust. They don't really have a strong feeling about the Holocaust, one way or the other. Some people like it. Some people are like, eh. They don't think about the Holocaust the way Jews think about the Holocaust because that's your history. You care about the Holocaust because it's your people who were killed. Koreans didn't die in the Holocaust. Gentiles did not die in the Holocaust. Jews died in the Holocaust. So yeah, it matters to you, but I mean, how many Koreans do you think lose sleep over the Holocaust? Like zero? It's not part of our history. Do you lose sleep because Koreans suffered under Japanese occupation for 35 years? Koreans lose sleep over that. You do not, because you're not Korean. But Jews have elevated this, the world is against us, to a science. Like they're the only people that matter in history. When Koreans have suffered 35 years under Japanese occupation, African countries have suffered colonialism for centuries. Everybody has suffered in some form or another. And Jews are like, oh, anti-Semitism, that's the greatest evil in the world. Anti-Semitism, that's the greatest evil in the world. Do you think people care? Do you think Hispanic Americans in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County care about the Holocaust? Well, they'll tell you they care, just to shut you up. Yapping, yapping, yapping. No one cares about the Holocaust. No one cares about the Jews. That's a lesson that Jews haven't learned yet in America. That's the lesson that Jews did not learn in Germany. That's the lesson Jews did not learn in Spain. That's the lesson that Jews did not learn in Russia. Jews never learned that lesson. That's why history keeps repeating itself again and again and again in history. No one cares about the suffering of the Jews, except the Jews, because it's your suffering. The moment you come into reality, that's when you will become humble. Because you think everybody cares about your suffering, you're proud. You think you can act in any way you want. You think you use the force any way you want. The police, the legal system, because you think people care. People don't care. And we know this because in 2016, President Trump was elected president for embracing white nationalism. That is the reason why they voted for him, because he embraced white nationalism. This is white America. The majority are whites. As I said, only 10% of America is black. 90% of America is white. Majority of white Americans don't care about black rights, and you're never going to change that. What they will care is what they perceive as you're trying to destroy their freedom. They do care about that. And there will be a retaliation for that. That's coming. That's guaranteed. As I said, one thing that you can count on with white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture is they will always retaliate. That is one absolute truth about white Protestantism, is they will retaliate. They will. They never forget. White Protestant culture, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture, never forgets. Never. They always remember. So retaliation is definitely coming. You know, there's a saying, live at peace with others. That's a wise saying. If you don't seek to destroy other people's culture, you leave their culture alone, there's no reason why you're going to experience retaliation. You see what I'm saying? But when you go around messing with other people's cultures, you're inviting centuries or decades of conflict. For 500 years, Protestants have been at war with Catholics, and it's still going on. People are people. You know, one thing that I, realize when I read Romeo and Juliet, it's a romance story, and I think about the romance of love as well. But I think about the conflict. It's exaggerated conflict, but it's a conflict nonetheless. And in its exaggeration, there is truth. The Russian pogroms against Jews happened in 1890 to 1910. Russian Jews escaped to find haven in Germany, which embraced them and brought them in. And they excel because they're intellectuals, because Jewish culture is culture of the book. So they were dominant intellectually when they were in Russia. When they went to Germany, they dominated intellectually in Germany because this is a religion of the book. And when the Holocaust happened, German Jews, Russian Jews who had gone to Germany escaped to America. Do you see the trend? This trend continues for 2,000 years. You know how some people say eggheads never learn? Like they're good with like theory, but they're not good with practical life. You know why people say that? Because sometimes people who are intellectual live in their brain. They don't live in the world. They don't understand the world. We are in an election year 2020. We don't even know whether election will take place in November 3rd. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the flu season. Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th district, is predicting up to 1 million people dying during the flu season per month. And my prediction is if that happens like in October, we probably will not have an election on November 3rd. Obviously, I don't want this to happen, but God has his own plans. God controls the viruses. He's the creator God. Well, let's see what happens. But one thing is clear. We need to bring America back to God. And that's why I, Heerak Christian Kim, am running as an independent candidate for U.S. Congress with the campaign theme, Bring America Back to God. And my primary campaign promise is to illegalize homosexuality because homosexuality is spreading in America in a dangerous way. It has now become a threat to Christianity and all Christians in America. Why? Why do I say this? I was about to apply to Northwestern University Hospital for a nursing job. And you know the questions that they asked at the end? They said, are you a friend of homosexuals? Do you have like homosexual friends? And I said, well, no, I don't consider myself a friend of homosexuals. And then they said, I was about to click submit. And they're like, this can have negative consequences to you. And we're going to share this information with like other agencies. They're like threatening me. Now, obviously, Northwestern University Hospital is violating civil rights by what they're doing. Because they're basically saying, if you oppose homosexuality, then that's going to be a problem for them to hire you. That's why they have this questionnaire. And they're like, we're going to share this information with other people. So you will be blacklisted in these pro-homosexual agencies. Now, majority of Americans oppose homosexuality as a personal faith, Christian faith, because obviously Christian faith demands it. So when Northwestern University has this kind of thing in their application questionnaire, you understand that now it's us versus them. They're gonna make sure you don't get a job if you're a Christian who opposes gay marriage. And there are professional organizations that are going to try to prevent you from having a job. It's us versus them. That's what they want. And they expect America's 90% of Christians who oppose homosexuality just to say, okay, we'll go along with your ethics. They assume like Americans are idiots, like Americans are slaves. Yes, sir. Can I have some more, sir? Yes, sir. Do you see why Germany killed every single homosexual in the Holocaust? You're going to take livelihood away from every Christian who opposes gay marriage? How do you think that's going to end? As I say, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant value retaliation. There will be retaliation 100% of the time. How do you think that's going to end? Look at all those people going to Mount Rushmore and intentionally not wearing masks, even though they may be scared to death. They're doing that just to spite you, liberal media, because you keep telling them they shouldn't go. They're like, I'm going to go just to spite you, CNN. This is America. This is white America. That's what they do. They will go just to spite you. They will not wear a mask just to spite you. They're willing to die from COVID just to spite you. What else do you think they're willing to do? You want to wage war against white Anglo-Saxon Protestants? What do you think is going to happen? As you know, Protestantism started in Germany with Martin Luther nailing the 95 Theses, and everybody was out to get him, to kill him. He hid out in Wartburg Castle for 2 years by himself. It's like self-isolating for 2 years. That's what you may have to do because of COVID, because World Health Organization is saying that this is forever. So you think it was bad that you self-isolated from March to May? Martin Luther self-isolated himself for 2 years because everywhere he goes, they're trying to kill him. Because he started the Reformation against the only entity that existed. And everybody wanted to kill him. That's where Protestantism started, Germany. But Holocaust was supported by the Vatican as well. Let's unpack this. Why did the Vatican support the Holocaust? Now, Jews will tell you it's because of anti-Semitism. Yeah, Jews are like always saying it's anti-Semitism. They're treating us like children. They're like, everything is anti-Semitism, like we're first graders. And that's so offensive. You know how many Protestants get offended by Jews like treating Protestants like first graders? It's anti-Semitism. Yeah, Protestants will always say smile and be polite to you, because that's what Protestants do. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture is all about politeness. But what do you think they're thinking? You treat them like first graders. It's anti-Semitism. Like, it explains everything. As I said, most white Anglo-Saxon Protestants don't have a problem with the Holocaust. In fact, a lot of people like it. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, you know what he said? and I heard this from Professor Eric Myers of Hebrew Union College when I went for an elite summer program for Jewish studies. And I was kind of shocked by this because, I didn't understand white world that well. But Professor Eric Myers, who's leading expert on Holocaust in America, professor for decades at Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati, this is what he told me. He told the whole group. And Elliot Wolfson was there as a member as well. And Elliot Wolfson is a professor at NYU, Jewish Studies program. And Louis Feldman, professor at Yeshiva University, an expert in Second Temple Judaism. I respect him a lot. He was there as well. And Eric Myers, Professor Eric Myers of Hebrew Union College, told all of us this, because we're the elite experts on Jewish studies who were invited to attend this 10-day, or 10 of us were invited to attend this Jewish studies event. I was the only non-Jew. And Professor Eric Myers said this: Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, I cannot tell the American people Hitler is killing the Jews, that he's trying to kill all the Jews, because Americans will stop me from going to war against Germany if they found out that Hitler was killing the Jews. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, in order for us to enter war in Germany with the support of the American people, we must hide the fact that Hitler has started systematically killing the Jews with the goal of killing all Jews. What does that tell you? I didn't know that, obviously. It's the first time I've heard that. When Professor Eric Myers told me, and they at Hebrew Union College, Institute of Jewish Religion in Cincinnati, they have a lot of original documentation and records. That's why they're one of the best institutes for Jewish studies. That's why we had this summer seminar there. That's how much Americans hate Jews. During World War II, if President Delano Roosevelt said Hitler is killing all the Jews, even though Americans hated Hitler, they would have prevented US from entering the war, just so that all the Hitler could get killed. All the Jews can get killed by Hitler. That's how much Americans hate Jews. And this was in World War II. You assume that now Americans have changed and they love Jews. I assure you, you assume wrong. What people tell you is not what they think or what they believe. What people tell you is not how they talk when they're with their in-group. You assume like people care about the Jews, about the suffering of the Jews, about the Holocaust. Do you care about the suffering of the Koreans during the Japanese occupation? You probably don't. So why do you assume like Koreans care about Jews suffering? People are people. They have their in-group identities, and they have us versus them mentality. We need to force all professional organizations to strike from their handbooks anything that smacks of pro-homosexuality, because that endangers every Christian's livelihood. That endangers the children of every Christian. That is the greatest evil in America right now. LGBTQ rights is the greatest evil in America. Majority of the Americans don't like it. They oppose it. And now the LGBTQ nation is trying to make that a standard to fire Christians from their jobs. It's a serious problem. That's why my campaign promise number one is to illegalize homosexuality. Because they're trying to destroy Christianity. It's a problem. Because Christianity cannot bend on homosexuality. That's why Pope Francis stands against ordaining homosexuals. The official position of the Catholic Church is marriage must be between one man and one woman. That is a principle that was founded in the creation of God. And Bible from Old Testament to New Testament support homosexuality as being evil. Germany enjoyed over 50 years of homosexuality proliferation. It's nothing new. In America, we have 5 years of homosexuality proliferation after Supreme Court justice kind of bent their knee. Interestingly enough, in Germany, it was atheists who wanted to kill the Jews and homosexuals. But as I said, the Vatican agreed with this policy of Germany. Why? Why? Why do you think the Vatican still opposes homosexuality today? Because it's in the sacred text. True Christians cannot allow homosexuality to dominate in society. Because it goes against the fundamental core of Christian value system. That is why we need to work to make sure no professional organization in America pushes homosexuality as a measure for anything. We need to change any code of ethics, any handbook that protects homosexuality and penalizes those who oppose homosexuality. We must stand against it. It's us versus them. It's either them or us. Maybe they'll start a war, giving us an opportunity to retaliate. One can only hope, because I assure you 300 million Americans want to retaliate. For 2,000 years, the Christian church has been killing homosexuals as an official policy. 2,000 years. What do you think that is? Well, Germany enjoyed like 50 years of golden age for homosexuals, and then they killed them all in the Holocaust. Do you understand the pattern? Maybe you still don't get it. Maybe you don't understand what's happening in history. Now, as President Trump celebrates Independence Day in Mount Rushmore, we understand a little bit how white Anglo-Saxon Protestants feel. As I said, blacks are only 10% of America. 90% of America is not black. Hispanics don't agree with defund police. Majority of Hispanics don't agree with Black Lives Matter. How many Hispanic Americans did you see in the march? In fact, Hispanic Americans and Black Americans are at competition with each other. They check each other because they don't agree on many issues. And Black Lives Matter is one issue that many Hispanic Americans don't agree with Blacks on. How many Black Lives Matter supporters have you seen in Arlington? Most Hispanic Americans oppose Black Lives Matter. They see it as a threat to Hispanic Americans. I mean, really a threat. That's how they see it. And this is national. It's not just in Arlington. African Americans cannot even get people of color to agree on Black Lives Matter. And African Americans are only 10% of the country's population. There are more Hispanic Americans than African Americans. There's like 11% of the country's Hispanic American, and 11% of Americans who are Hispanic oppose Black Lives Matter. They support Hispanic Lives Matter. They oppose Black Lives Matter. Blacks can't even not get Hispanics to agree with them. How are they going to get white people to agree with them? Do you see what's happening here? It's 100% guaranteed lose-lose game. You can't win. You can't even persuade 11% of America who are Hispanic to agree with you. And there are people of color. How are you going to get the rest of the country to agree with you? Just because several senators go along with you? Remember, every senator lost to President Trump, who embraced white nationalism. What does that tell you? That was 4 years ago. The country is white nationalist. That's why Trump won. You know how offensive Trump was to women in 2016? And white women still voted for Trump because he embraced white nationalism. Trump single-handedly showed us that America is white nationalist. And how are you going to change it? People don't change. After 50 years of ascendancy of homosexuality and all kinds of liberal progressive ideas in Germany, you had atheist educated elites leading the pathway to Holocaust, which Christians joined. But it was a secular atheistic movement. You think like all the atheists at Harvard support Jews? Do you think all the atheists at Yale support Jews or Judaism or oppose Holocaust? Let me tell you, when I was in Israel, the most liberal people in England and America were the most supportive of anti-Jewish groups. Liberal progressivism, ironically, is far more anti-Semitic than KKK ever will be. You don't know, because for me, my pond is liberalism. My bachelor's is from University of Pennsylvania. I went to PhD program in history at UCLA. I studied at Harvard, studied at Brown University. For me, I feel very comfortable in liberal areas. And I assure you, the greatest anti-Semitism exists among liberals. Antifa will be more anti-Semitic, to use your term, than KKK ever will be. You'll see what I mean. If America starts a Holocaust, it will be by Antifa and the socialists. It's like Trotsky was one of the leaders of Bolshevik Revolution, but as soon as Bolshevik Revolution succeeded, they killed off Trotsky, one of the leaders who was Jewish, and then they started killing Jews, and they killed 10 million of them, more than the Holocaust. You don't know about it because nobody wrote about it. They did not, leave any record. It was during the purge of Lenin and Stalin. It's kind of like America's socialism. If it succeeds, Bernie Sanders may be a leader of it, but history always repeats itself. Trotsky will be killed. If America has a Holocaust, it will be probably by the socialists or atheists. Because that's what happened in Germany. Atheists who led the Holocaust. Christians just joined in. But yeah, a lot is happening now. I mean, obviously for me, my interest is to bring America back to God. But problem exists. If homosexuals, LGBTQ nation will take jobs away from Christians because they follow the Bible, this is a time that we need to act. Right? Why should you lose your job because you follow the Bible and you oppose homosexuality? Why should the professional association that you belong to tell you you cannot do what you do in your profession because you oppose homosexuality? What right do they have? There's more of us. There are few of them. There's no way they're going to lose. They're going to win. Why should you take it when they're going to use or to try to co-opt institutions to take away your livelihood, to debase you, to destroy you and your family? Why should you take it? There's only a few of them. And that's what Germans thought. And that's why they killed off all homosexuals. 100% of homosexuals were rounded up and executed by Germany. Yes, it can be done. It can be done in any country. Because in any country, homosexuals will be a minority. They never will be a majority, by definition. Because God created us male and female. Right? Homosexuality is deviance, right? It's like degeneration. It's corruption. When people are born, they're born heterosexual. And then they, just watch like all the TV shows where people become gay. Like they experiment with homosexuality and become gay. They weren't born gay. Yeah, gay people say they're born gay. That's what they say, but they weren't born gay. They're born heterosexual, and then they like drifted off. And that's what the Romans chapter 1 Bible verse tells us as well. But I hope that homosexuals start a war against us. I hope so. I mean, that would be like dream come true. I'm like, please start a war with us, please. I mean, we will have a party. We will have a party. Not the kind of party that homosexuals may want. Just attack us. Why don't you attack us and see what happens? What can the 1% do or 2% do, really? I mean, geez. But anyway, yeah, so vote for me, Heerak, Christian Kim, for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. My platform is I will bring America back to God. I have 3 campaign promises. Number 1 is I will work to illegalize homosexuality in America. Vote for me if that's what you want. Don't vote for me if you don't want that. Vote for what you want. You're not a slave. Second thing, obviously you will suffer consequences if you support homosexuality, like you would hell. But I mean, you're free on this earth. What happens in the next life after death, God's the judge. God's going to enforce his law. I mean, God's enforcing his law now too. So whatever choice you make, you're free to make, but there are consequences. So if you become a homosexual, you made that free choice out of your freedom, but you go to eternal damnation or now. There are consequences, Yeah. So my campaign promise number 1 is I will illegalize homosexuality with members of Congress. I'll work very hard to do that. My campaign promise number 2 is I will illegalize homosexuality. I'll work with members of U.S. Congress to do that. My campaign promise number 3, and this is for you, my brothers and sisters in Christ who are Black and Hispanic. I'm going to work very hard to elevate the life of Black Christians and Hispanic Christians, Black neighborhoods. The majority of Blacks are Christians, majority of Hispanics are Christians. Elevate the lives of Blacks throughout America in every inner city. And I'll work with Black pastors, Hispanic pastors to do that. And that's in education area and healthcare area. Yeah, we Christians have to look out for each other. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. So those are my 3 campaign promises under the umbrella of bring America back to God. I march for life, but first and foremost for Christian lives. And if you want to endanger Christian lives or livelihood, I assure you, I will stand against you. And that goes for every Christian in America. It is in times of conflict that brings out the best in us. Well, best, in us. Yeah. Harry sees the absolute truth of this because Harry is very wise. He doesn't say anything, but in his silence, we see a lot of wisdom. He's still not saying anything. Harry does not take compliments very well. He's not even smiling. Let's go to our COVID-19 numbers. In 24 hours, 748 people have died from COVID. So yesterday we had 128,684 cases. 24 hours later, there are 129,432 deaths. So the death rate went up by 748. Confirmed cases 24 hours ago was 2,735,339. 24 hours later, we have 2,793,435. So the death rate is beginning to pick up, but as the Surgeon General of the United States said, generally death rates lag behind 2 to 3 weeks. And that's what I've been saying all along. I think he copied what I'm saying because I've been saying this for the whole week, So I think Surgeon General is watching my show. Um, yeah, so death rate is coming. Yeah, there's Kim Davis. She was in prison for opposing gay marriage. This is what the LGBTQ nation wants. To imprison every Christian, that's you. LGBTQ nation wants to imprison you because you're a Christian. Yeah, that's what LGBTQ nation wants. To use the law to imprison you. They're less than like 1% of the population. Maybe 2%. What can the 2% do? Yeah. And obviously the Holy Bible is what condemns homosexuality, and that's what Kim Davis stands for. That's what I stand for. But COVID-19 is a problem right now because it's spreading throughout America like wildfire. It started when the Supreme Court protected employment rights of homosexuals, which is absolutely wrong in the eyes of God. Because God doesn't want employment rights of homosexuals protected. Yeah, find an excuse to fire a homosexual. Yeah, I mean, if you're a CEO, manager, that's what you should do, because homosexuals are finding excuses to fire you. As I've told you, when I wanted to apply for a nursing job at Northwestern University Hospital, they have this, are you a friend of homosexuals? What the heck is that? What the heck is that? They want to create a nation that only employs homosexuals and friends of homosexuals. That's what gay nation wants, LGBTQ nation wants. They want every Christian fired and starving. That's what the LGBTQ nation wants. They have started a war against Christian America. They think they could win. So funny. Yeah. So the COVID-19 is unfortunately spreading in South America as well. And we see Brazil is number one, and it is 1,539,081 cases, and they have 61,884 deaths. I mean, it's 4% lower than us, 5%. But you know, you have cases, it's going to end up in death. You know, it's just, you can't avoid it. Peru has is number two, 295,599 cases, and the deaths are 10,226. 3% are ending in death. Number three is Chile, and it has 288,089 cases. 6,051 are ending in death, 2%. So they have a pretty good record. Who knows? Maybe we'll go to 2%. I mean, you can only hope. Mexico, but you know, the problem is Chile has always been 2%. So I don't know, but Mexico was like 2% and then it became 12%. So maybe we'll go the other way. We don't really have too many cases that reflect that, but it's still theoretically possible. Let's see what happens in the summer. Mexico has 245,251 cases, and 9,843 are ending in death, 12%. Colombia has 106,392 cases, 3,851 are ending in death. So 4% are ending in death. But as you can see, death rates are going up all over in Latin America, which is a problem for Latin Americans. Maybe some people in Arlington County who are Hispanic have lost their relatives back home. It's really sad. Yeah. As you see, Jesuit priests have been defenders of the Christian faith for a long time. And we have Pope Francis, who's a Jesuit. Georgetown University is a Jesuit university. And so one of the reasons I really like Georgetown is because it's a Catholic university with Catholic value system. And it believes in cura personalis, right? Treating the whole person. And obviously what I do in this show, COVID-19, is to provide a holistic treatment that also includes spiritual. And that's why I said don't become homosexual, because you're going to go to hell. It's eternal damnation. And obviously that's important for your eternal life, which is part of you. Because you're not just a person who's going to live in this world, you're going to live in the next world. So I consider it part of cura personalis ministry or healthcare system that also includes spiritual health. And you can't be spiritually healthy if you're homosexual because you're destined to eternal damnation. All homosexuals go to hell without question. That's why Bible doesn't want you to become homosexual. And that's why Christian church for 2,000 years killed every homosexual. Because that becomes a deterrent for other people from becoming homosexuals. Because if you become homosexual, you go to eternal damnation, without question. So executing homosexual is a means to justice as well as deterrence for others to commit that crime. That's why capital punishment for homosexuality is important. To deter your children from becoming homosexuals. And obviously, the Bible orders it. Dr. Pepper, don't drink alcohol during COVID because you may do things that you regret. You can have full control of your faculty during COVID-19. It's not the time to lose yourself. This is time to find yourself. So stay away from alcohol or any kind of narcotics or anything that messes with your mind. Keep a sober mind because a lot of people are dying. This is a time that you should come closer to God, reflect on your value system, what you're doing in your life that glorifies God or not glorifies God. This is the time that you should be fighting against homosexuality and LGBTQ rights. Because as I said, God has sent COVID-19 to kill a lot of Americans because of homosexuality. So it's priority from public health nursing to end homosexuality in America by law. It's a public health matter, national security matter. So I hope all of you in Homeland Security, FBI, NSA will join me in pushing for illegalization of homosexuality. And we expect you find individuals to enforce that law at a federal, national level once that becomes illegal. U.S. Marshals as well. I don't want to leave you out. They're very important. And obviously, Army National Guard, U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, U.S. Marines, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Merchant Marines, U.S. Space Force, all of you are important in pushing for illegalization of homosexuality. And you may play a bigger role in the future. We need to be open to God's call. We don't know where the voice of the Holy Spirit will lead us, each and every one of us, individually and as a body, as a corporate unit. We don't know where the Holy Spirit will lead us. We just have to be open to the call of God and the voice of God and what He may ask us to do out of our love for Jesus Christ. We always have to be open to the call of God. Because what are you willing to do for love, right? You love your children. You don't want them to be homosexuals. What are you willing to do out of your love for your children and their future eternal life? Answer may be different for every individual. Maybe there's a zeitgeist, spirit of the age that finds conversions. Let's see. History is being written every day. And that's what's exciting about history. History gets written every day. There are surprises. which makes it more exciting. It's like Christmas. I'm just hoping homosexuals attack me, attack Christianity, just plainly outright, so that we can retaliate. That'll be like Christmas come true. I love the ducky. God is so good. You know, I think about the goodness of the Lord. Come and see the goodness of the Lord. Because our Lord Jesus Christ is so good. You know, you see the crucifix there? He died for us on the cross so that we may have eternal life, so that we can marry Christians and form a good Christian family, so that our children can have eternal life and not become homosexuals and go to eternal damnation in hell. Come and see the goodness of the Lord. That's why Jesuits have shed their blood to share the gospel all over the world, so that your children can be protected from homosexuality and eternal damnation. They have shared the gospel, fall for the faith, die for the faith. Jesuit priests, missionaries, defenders of the faith. That's why I'm so proud to be associated with a Jesuit university, Georgetown University, because there's a long-standing tradition of Jesuit priests fighting for the Christian faith, defending it, even giving their lives for it. And so I'm proud to be a part of the Jesuit tradition, cura personalis. And that's what I try to do in this show, cura personalis, treat the whole person. What good is it if you save your body if you go to eternal damnation in hell? That's forever. Earth is only 100 years. Cura personality has to be concerned more about eternal life. How can we be concerned about the whole person, cura personalis, when we allow them to become homosexuals and go to eternal damnation in hell? Do you see why it is necessary to illegalize homosexuality in America as a deterrent for your children, Catholic children, from becoming homosexuals? Why is it that some Christians become homosexuals? Have you thought about that? Children of Christians. Why is it? Because there isn't a deterrence. If we did not have a death penalty, first-degree murder would proliferate in America. But because there is a death penalty, there's a deterrence. Deterrence is important. Why should more Catholic children become homosexuals? You look at your child now. Look at your grandchildren. Why should they become homosexuals? Because there's no deterrence in society. Why? Why should they be encouraged to experiment with gay sex by their public school teachers in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County? Why? Because there's no deterrence. And that's why you should vote for me, Heerak Christian Kim, for U.S. Congress and Virginia's 8th District, because I would provide deterrence so that your children will not be tempted to experiment with homosexuality. Because when they do, they will go to hell. Do you want your children to go to hell? Do you want your grandchildren to go to hell? Harry's looking at me. He's finding this very, very interesting. He has that look. I've never heard this said by anyone. Yeah, but I said this yesterday too. I talked about this yesterday. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting his look. Or maybe he's saying, every time you talk, it's like freshness every time. You talk about the same issue, but it feels like new. It's so interesting. That's what he's saying. But yeah, I am here to help you. I'm here to help your children. I'm here to help your grandchildren. Vote for me for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District on November 3rd. You may not be alive to vote for me because a lot of people are dying from COVID-19. Your children may be dead by then, in which case, it will help your other children if they're alive. I mean, it's possible for all of your children to die before Christmas because Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County Public Schools are planning to reopen in September, which means your children could get COVID-19 and they could die. So I'm trying to help you and your children, and I've been tweeting, you should call up superintendent of your school district, whether it's Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, and get them to close it down. But if they don't close, there's high chance that your children could get COVID during the flu season and die. So if you have 3 children, one of your child gets COVID, most likely, I don't think I'm stretching this too much. If one of your child gets COVID, unless you don't let the child come into your home. I mean, if you're taking care of your child at home, or the child was at home before it got serious enough to go to hospital, and most likely all of your children will be infected. This is a highly contagious virus, in which case 100% of your children, all 5 of them may die. That's how happens in pandemic, right? Because one kid gets it, all 5 could get it. It's like chickenpox, but worse, more contagious. Yeah. You should be psychologically prepared in case all of your children die from COVID, because Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County Public Schools are hell-bent on opening when it's going to jeopardize your children's lives. How is that a good thing? Heerak Christian came independent candidate for U.S. Congress. I want your children to live. That's what I've been constantly telling you. Call up your school district, tell them not to open in the fall. It's okay if your children are a few grades behind, if they're not dead. Do you rather have like all 5 kids dead from COVID? Is education that important to you? As I said, only 30% of the people go to college. Some of the greatest people that I've known didn't have a college degree. Bill Gates doesn't have a college degree. Neither does a founder of Facebook. Yeah, college degree is overrated. But Jesuits, yeah, they're definitely legendary. Jesuits are legendary. And so I have the highest respect for them. Yeah. One of my heroes is, well, I have a lot of heroes who are Jesuits, because they've done so many great things for Christianity, Yeah. Yeah, we have a Jesuit priest. I think it's a good thing. Pope Francis stands staunchly against homosexuality and abortion, as he should. It's the right thing to do. We need to follow his lead, standing against gay marriage and abortion. Yeah. Now, hospitals are filling up, and many are expected to die. This is a second peak of COVID, June to August, and it's promising to be far worse than the first peak, March to May. Some of you may not know what's going on because you are in Virginia or Maryland, although right now COVID-19 cases are going up in Virginia and Maryland. I don't know if you've been following the news. You should follow the news of your own state. It's kind of important. Maryland had 2 consecutive days with over 500 COVID-19 cases. So it's visibly showing an increase. Because I think it went down to like 200 before, but now it's climbing up. Same with Virginia. COVID-19 cases are above 500 past 2 days consecutively. So both Maryland and Virginia are now officially in the second peak, I would say. Because there are still states that have less than 200 cases per day, where Maryland was. But now it's changing. Now it's growing, new cases. Yeah, it's a harrowing, scary process that is starting in Maryland and Virginia. Because we're headed to second peak. And let's see what's going to happen to us once we get there, because we have other states that have started like a week ago. Number one, Florida. Florida has 9,488 coronavirus cases as average deaths rise. Yes, deaths are rising. I'm still, you got to wait a couple of weeks for it to like see a sharp incline, but it's starting to rise. And it's an article in Tampa Bay Times by Reagan Reeves and Romy Ellenbogen from today. And this is a significant quote that you need to see to understand that this is coming to Virginia. Maybe in a week we'll have over 2,000 cases. We don't know. It could happen relatively quickly. And the significant quote is this: hospitalizations went up by 341 in one day, the third largest increase in a single day since the pandemic start. It's Florida. I mean, you don't go to hospital unless you're really sick. So it's starting. Only April 29th and May 16 had larger jumps, with the highest in May of 400. So 341 is getting there. Thursday's increase was 329. So you had 2 days where you have like over 300 hospitalizations per day increase. So hospital beds are filling up very, very quickly in Florida, and the peak just started like a week and a half ago. Yeah. So can you imagine what's going to happen the next couple of weeks? Yeah. I mean, you run out of ICU beds, you die. Yeah. Now, second article, and that could happen in Virginia too, Maryland, in the next coming weeks. Second article, coronavirus cases through July 2nd. This is an article from yesterday. Texas hits record high in hospitalizations with 7,382 patients. Record high in hospitalizations. Record high. Higher than during the first peak. Hospitals have filled up. And they're still filling up. And this is in a KHOU, a Houston news outlet by staff. The significant quote that sheds light on what's going on in Texas is this: the state reported 7,382 COVID-19 patients are being treated in Texas hospitals, topping Wednesday's record of 6,904. Texas daily case count was down Thursday, but not by much. The state reported 7,915 new COVID-19 cases, 161 fewer than Wednesday. Texas is headed to massive deaths. It's possible 1,000 will die per day at a certain point in the summer. This is coming to Virginia and Maryland because, as I said, they've been having 2 consecutive days of over 500 cases. It's rising in Virginia as we speak. It's rising in Maryland as we speak. It's coming. to Virginia and Maryland. There's no question about it. California had a lot of death, but there were a lot of cases as well. But I thought I would include Arizona because, it's aggressively pushing to beat California. So, I thought it would be interesting for us to look at Arizona because it may soon, it's hard. I mean, it still had to get to 7,000, but it can. I mean, Texas was where Arizona was a few days ago, right? Now it's like 7,000. So Arizona can easily go to 7,000. Yeah. So third article, coronavirus hotspot Arizona reaches ICU capacity of 91%. 91% of ICU beds are taken up. They only have 9% to go. They run out of beds. You know what happens when hospitals run out of beds? Yes, you die. Mindy and Mandy are kind of shocked. Look at their eyes. Like big. They're shocked. Hospitals filling up like Mindy and Mandy are filling up the screen. There will be no room. This is Mindy. And this is Mandy. And they also march for life. So this Arizona article is from 7 News Boston, and it's by Associated Press from today. The significant quote for Arizona is this: people who went to the ER because of COVID-19 symptoms numbered a record 1,847, nearly 500 more than a day earlier. 500 more went to the hospital. These people may be dying. Like 100% of them could die. They're in the hospital. Yeah, this is a very sad time for Arizona. And, actually 30 states had COVID-19 cases go up. It's theoretically possible that every state, every single one of those 30 states, could have over 3,000 cases simultaneously at the same time in the summer. This isn't even the flu season. When the flu season starts, it's guaranteed ICU beds will be gone. People will be dropping dead like flies. So give me a 5. Give me a 5, or let's bring America back to God. Only God can stop this COVID-19 wrath of God promised in Romans chapter 1, and that's not going to happen until we legalize homosexuality. Obviously, I hope that current members of Congress will legalize it. If that's not going to happen, you just have to weather this flu season with millions of people dying. But as soon as I'm sworn in January, I promise to push aggressively to legalize homosexuality to end this nightmare. So give me a 5, give me a 5, and vote for me on November 3rd, 2020 for US Congress. So you and your children can live physically and spiritually. Give me a 5. The second sentence in the Arizona article says, the state reported Friday 4,433 confirmed cases. Yes, it's nearly 5,000. And 31 deaths. So death is not catching up. I mean, right now, people are going to hospital. So they're going to be dying in the next 2-3 weeks because they're going to hospital. Their condition is going to get worse. They're going to be rushed to ICU. There's no bed in ICU. They die. You see how that happens? That's coming in the next couple of weeks. So right now we're talking about people going to hospital. If you recall, last week we talked about rising cases. This week we're talking about rising hospitals. Maybe next week at this time we're going to talk about rising deaths, because death will significantly rise. Let's see. It's possible. The third sentence in Arizona article says the total stands at 91,858 cases and 1,788 deaths. As I said, that's going to increase. Most likely Arizona will hit 10,000, kind of like New Jersey. Yeah. And maybe much more, like Mexico. I mean, go up and up and up. Yeah, tragedy is unfolding right before our eyes. People thought first peak was bad. Oh, second peak is going to be worse. It's only beginning of July, people. We have the whole month of July. We have the whole month of August for the second peak. Yeah. A lot of people are going to die. A lot more than in the first peak. Yes. Virginia as well. It's because the cases are increasing now. We're like a week behind. Week and a half behind, like Arizona. We're going to get there, unfortunately, but we will. But I do recommend every single parent in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County to call up your superintendent and get them to do 100% online learning, just because I think your children's life is precious. There's no need to lose your children's lives over a virus. You keep your children in your home, the chance they're going to get virus is very low, unless you bring something back from outside. But if you send your children to school, it's every day they could get COVID. And you know, New York virus, the mutated form of COVID-19 that targets children and kills them, that I talked about, and that I coined the term New York virus like in April, that exists now. Once you introduce it, you can never put it back into the box. Never can you put it back into the box. It's there. It will always be there. And it's waiting to infect your children. Remember, I used the analogy of like a hunter hunting a deer. COVID-19 is the hunter with the deer. And COVID-19 is patiently waiting for us to come out so it could infect us. I told you when we opened up, we're going to get infected. But I said, you know, you have the freedom to open up if you're willing to get infected and die. That's your freedom. Remember I said that? Just watch my previous episodes. I've said it. It's guaranteed you're going to get infected if you open up. It's a killer virus that infects. That's its whole reason for existence. And this is not going to be ending in August. Third peak will start in September. Because just like the Israelites in the Bible, you're going to forget in August, oh, you know, we can go out and play now. This cycle starts again and again. And if World Health Organization is right, then this is forever, this endless cycle. So get used to it. This is the new normal. We're not going back. Once you go on COVID, you never go back. Yeah, that's a new saying. Yeah, I hope you don't die. I hope your children don't die. Watch this show every day. I recommend you take my advice so that your children won't die. Everything I've been saying came true. everything, practically everything has come true. And my prediction that thousands of children will die if your school districts open up will come true as well. Don't blame God, because I told you your children will die if you open up your school district. So if you have all of your children die from COVID, you only have yourself to blame, because I told you to call up your superintendent and your school board of directors and say close down the school. You didn't do it. So you only have yourself to blame for the rest of your life if your children die, all of your children die from COVID-19. Because I told you what to do. I mean, I'm not forcing you to do it. I gave you advice. You're free to take it or not take it. But you rejected my advice, so you have only yourself to blame. Don't blame God. Don't say, why God? Why God? No, you did it. You didn't call. You didn't try to get your school district to close. It's your fault. Don't blame God. People always blame God whenever bad things happen. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's not God's fault. It's your fault. Yeah. So yeah, look at all those ICU rooms. Maybe you'll see you'll see that from the patient's perspective. Yeah, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's getting worse. That's coming to Virginia, Maryland, Washington D.C. It's coming. Yeah. I love my cohort members. I'm in the clinical nurse leader program at Georgetown University, master's program, which is a Catholic university. As I said, Jesuit university. Jesuit is a particular group of Catholic priests. There's Dominicans, Franciscans, LaSalle brothers are different groups within Catholic Church. And I'm happy to be at Georgetown. It's great to be part of the Jesuit tradition. I respect the Jesuits. Although I get the feeling not everybody respects the Jesuit tradition, like what they have done, like sharing the gospel, Christianization of others. I feel like some people at Georgetown don't really appreciate the Jesuits or like the Jesuits. I know there may be some people who want to make sure, like take Georgetown away from Jesuits. Some people just don't respect the Jesuits, and it's sad. But, there are people who hate Christianity, Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Yeah. But, I love my CNL cohort members. And I'm predicting that 10,000 nurses will die by Christmas. We have the flu season coming. There may be a lot of nurses who die during the summer COVID as hospitals filled up. It's not infecting like 20s. So I've shared with you that at least 5 will die, maybe 5 to 8 or 10 will die. So anywhere from 20% to 40% of my core members may die. Obviously, I don't want any one of them to die, but it's a possibility. So, yeah. I bet none of them, when they started Georgetown University, borrowing $200,000, $100,000 per year for tuition, expected something like this to happen. And when they enter professional nursing in August, that's when they enter potentially their death. Some of them may die like in the first month after they start working as full-time nurse. They probably never expected that because, unless there's a pandemic, it's hard to die as a nurse, But, when there's a pandemic, being a nurse is probably the most dangerous job in the world, far more dangerous than being a policeman. Even with defund police trying to kill them, being a nurse is probably the most dangerous job. Because nurses are there all the time for 12 hours of the work shift taking care of COVID patients. I mean, there can't be a job that's more dangerous than that. It's like you're with them 24, not 24/7, but 12 hours straight, constantly. I mean, it's a miracle if you don't get COVID. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think I'm not being unreasonable saying that anywhere from 5 to 10 of my core members may die. Um, Obviously, I don't want you to die, but I think that's going to happen. And not just our cohort, but BSN cohort as well. They have 26 graduated. Probably like 5 to 10 will die from there too. That's coming. I mean, we had the second peak in the summer, and then we have the third peak during the flu season in the fall. So by Christmas time, I think 20% would have died. Yeah. So that's why I think we need to celebrate the time that we have now, because we're like Marines going to war. Every CNL person who's working as a nurse in the COVID era can die. It's like whenever you have a war and Marines are invading Normandy, they know many people will die. They just don't know who. And then after everything is over, they know who died. It's like that. And that's where we are. Clinical nurse leaders, cohort 2020, we're headed to our Normandy. Oh, people are going to die. That's like 100% guaranteed. The question is who will die and how many? And so that's why I feel like I need to celebrate our cohort 2020 CNL, because we're going to lose a lot in the next few months. It'll be tragic. It'll be very sad. But you got to hold it together because obviously you have to take care of COVID. You're like the Marines, yeah. And I'm sure all of you know you're headed to death potentially, and you're ready for it because, our program trained us well. We had, a simulation of a pandemic with Professor Lauren Spencer in the fall semester. So we've been trained for this, we know we can die from this. I mean, we're nurses. We know what will happen. Yeah, we know. And so, yeah. So I'd like to do a cheer again for all of us while we have all 25 of us here. CNL 2020, CNL 2020. We did it. Yay! Actually, I may be celebrating too prematurely because, we're going to have some of us start clinicals this week. I think Monday. I think there are several of us who are going to clinicals in the hospital, and they signed the waiver form saying, if I die from COVID, I will not hold Georgetown accountable. I didn't sign it. None of the boys did, like me, Grant, and Billy. None of us signed that waiver. All of us are sitting this out. And there are several others who are women who also are sitting this out. But there's actually a significant number of us who are going to clinical. There's like a clinical for a month, like for maybe like a little bit longer than a month. They'll be going to the hospital, I think twice a week or maybe once a week. I'm not going. Billy's not going. Brandon is not going. All of us are not going to a hospital right now. So maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic in saying all 25 of us will graduate in August, because it is possible that those who go to a hospital could get COVID, because you don't know who is in the incubation period. As I've showed you yesterday when I showed you stages of infection, people can infect you while they are in incubation period when the virus is growing. They could infect you tremendously when they're in the prodromal stage, when they don't show any symptoms. That's when people infect you the most, before they have high temperature. That's what they infect you the most. Because once you have the high temperature, you already have symptoms. So you're into several days into prodromal stage. You see why a lot of people are getting infected, because they're like, oh, I don't have any symptoms. But yeah, prodromal stage, you generally don't have symptoms. You don't have high temperature, even if you develop that later on. So you're infecting a lot of people while you're in the prodromal stage. Watch yesterday's video if you don't know what I'm talking about. I talked about that yesterday. So like when my core members start their clinical on Monday, there may be patients who don't show any symptoms, like their temperature is normal, everything is normal, but they may be in their incubation period from COVID-19. They could also be in the prodromal stage from COVID-19, in which case the core members will get infected, potentially, because no PP is 100% protective. You can wear the most sophisticated PP and still get infected. Unless you're wearing a spacesuit, then it's airtight, so you're not going to get infected. But unless you're wearing a spacesuit, you could get infected. Yeah. So it's possible that one of us could get infected in the hospital. It is also possible that 5 people can get infected from the hospital. The way I'm seeing what's going on, I think they are guinea pigs. I'm sorry to tell you, my fellow cohort members, but I think it's better to be honest, because we don't know when people are going to die, and there's no reason to like lie to ourselves or pretend, because that's like pretending and lying to people. You shouldn't lie to people, but pretending is like before COVID. Now that COVID is killing all these people, infecting people, we should be pretending. We should be dealing with facts. And so my take on this is that we are guinea pigs. We are the lab rabbits. Say, what's up, Doc? I don't know, that voice doesn't sound right, but like Bugs Bunny, what's up, Doc? But yeah, we are the wabbits. We are the lab wabbits. We are the wabbits. Yeah, we're the lab rabbits. And we're being monitored and studied right now, I think. And in a sense, it's a controlled experiment. So let's say there are 20 people going to clinicals. They're being like lab wabbits. They're being monitored to see what's going to happen. If there are 20 people who go to a clinical for 6 weeks, will 0 get infected? I'm sure none of the nursing professors think 0 will be infected. I mean, they won't tell you, but I guarantee you they have I guarantee you that none of them think nobody will be infected in 6 weeks. I mean, do you think nobody will be infected in 6 weeks? I mean, we've studied infectious stuff, we've done microbiology and all that stuff. There's going to be somebody infected. So the experiment that I'm talking about, let me pour myself more Dr. Pepper. So the infection is about to head, well, it's already here. It's going up, right? So, yeah, the question, right? The research question is how many out of 20 will get infected with COVID during 6-week clinical period? I think that's basically what people are curious about, both at Innova and also at Georgetown. I think people are curious about that. And I wouldn't be surprised if people are discussing this constantly, even with American Academy of Colleges of Nursing, which is the accrediting agency, which is walking in the dark. Let's be honest here. COVID-19 is a complete new phenomenon for American Association of Colleges of Nursing, um, American Academy of Nursing, it's National Institute of Nursing Research. COVID-19 is totally new. None of the experts really know what this thing is or what it's doing or what it can do. Um, yeah. So, yeah, you're guinea pigs. So I think most nursing experts predict that certain number of people will get infected out of the first clinical group. Um, that's why you sign the waiver form. Why would you sign the waiver form if they think there's minimum chance you get infected? Because there's high probability that you can get infected and die. That's why they made you sign the waiver form. It's kind of like when you go bungee jumping, they make you sign a waiver form. But they don't make you sign a waiver form when you're riding in an amusement park ride, even though sometimes, wheels come off and people die. Because there's low probability of death, they don't need to make you sign a waiver form. Like if you go to Disneyland or Six Flags. But they do make you sign a waiver form, like when you're bungee jumping or doing something that's highly risky. And people die sometimes from that. So yeah, I think, the fact that you signed the waiver form proves that you are engaging in risky activity. And I think some people will get infected. And there's a possibility that those who have pre-existing conditions could die. I think that's something that everyone probably recognizes. You probably recognize as well. And my guess is some of you are doing this clinical before going to full-time work to see if you will not get COVID, and that will determine whether you go to work. Because that's how human mind works. Let's try this out in a protected environment, and if I don't get COVID, I'll start working in the fall. Some of you may be like, well, we do this clinical to kind of get our feet wet so we become less scared of COVID. Because I'm scared of COVID now. So it's kind of like exposure therapy, like flooding, like jumping into the water and then learning to swim. I think some people are thinking like that. I just want to get used to this COVID environment with my friends from 2 years of COVID. 2 years of a CNL program. It's like we're like family. So like I'd rather get exposure to family. I think some people are going with that in mind. Others are like, well, I just want to get out of the house. I've been like cooped up in the house doing nothing. So I'm bored. I need to like get away from the house setting. And this going to the hospital to work is like an escape. So some people are doing it just to get away because they're bored with life. They're willing to risk death. Because you know what? Some women say boredom is worse than death. Yeah. Like one of my female friends said, there's nothing worse than a boring guy because boredom is worse than death. Like what? You know, but yeah, like more than one female friend said that to me, like about the guy that they're dating. Yeah, I was like, whoa, women are kind of scary, you know, the way they talk. I've never heard a guy say that, you know, like boredom is worse than death. I don't know, guys don't talk like that, you know. It's just guys are kind of more chill, you know, like women, like some of the things that they say, it's like shocking, you know. I like, you know, when men get together, you know, we're like, yeah, dude. Oh man, that sucks. You know, he just scored the other team. You know, you know, we keep it relatively simple. You know, but like women, man, they're so complicated. You know, it's like, oh, when men are boring, that's worse than death. It's like, whoa, who talks like that? You know, I've never heard of men say, oh, boring women are worse than death. Because men never find women boring. You know, so I mean, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know any men who find women boring, you know? I mean, they could get bored with a woman, but it's not like boredom, you know? They'd rather have a woman than not have a woman. I think it's like most guys. You know, there's that song, No Woman, No Cry, but that title explains everything. It's better to have a woman than not have a woman because you're trying to convince yourself no woman, no cry, right? Um, but yeah, so I think some of my core members are like I rather be just out. I don't want to be like at home, you know. So I think they're you know doing that. Whatever your reason, you know. I mean, obviously you know you're taking a risk because you signed the waiver. It spells out. You know, it's not like they probably a lawyer crafted that just to make sure that you can't sue Georgetown. Um, yeah, it looks like a pretty scary waiver document. It's like relinquishing all rights. Um, but you know, we've done clinicals for 2 years. You know, it's like same old, same old. I think it'll be boring just like doing same old, same old. Um, like when we start working as nurses, we are like actually like working as nurses, and you know, it's a new environment as well wherever we go, and we have more responsibilities. Like you know, we get to use the skills that we learned in clinical nurse leader program, um, and you get paid for it, which is a big incentive. But like doing clinical without pay while COVID-19 is happening, when you could die from it, I don't know. I doesn't. You know, my take on this is this. You know, I forgot why lie to you. I could die from COVID before Christmas as well. You know, so yeah, I'm just gonna tell you the truth because you know, hey, what's there to hide? Like when you're facing death, geez, you know, how good are secrets? What does secrets do for you, right? When you're facing death, you may die in a few months. If you're a nurse, you may die next month. So, yeah. And so my rationale is this: all of us clinical nurse leaders, we had a potential to work in a practicum, like one-to-one with an expert on a field that we wanted. I wanted to go to an ICU at Georgetown Hospital, so I would have gone to ICU, worked one-on-one with a nurse. And had I gotten that during summer, during COVID, I would have gone. Because it's like you're learning something new. You can always put that down on your resume. You know, I worked in ICU one-to-one with a highly specialized unit, and I had all these responsibilities. Um, so it's worth the risk. Um, but like a clinical, like what we've been doing for the past 2 years, we know how to do that, like blindfolded. You know, it's like you're gonna do something that you've been doing and you could do it blindfolded, what's the point, right? I mean, it's the same old thing, right? It's not like you're on the floor with a new job, with a paycheck, I mean, with more responsibilities, it's more exciting, but you get a paycheck, emphasis on the paycheck, it makes it worthwhile. You're getting paid for that work. Or if you do like an ICU or some kind of specialized thing, like I think Emily wanted to work in an emergency room, in an ER, for practicum. Like if you do something that you want to do in the summer, it makes sense. But I mean, 6 weeks of doing same old thing and you risk death. I mean, you're signing a waiver saying you may die. I mean, I don't, you got to always do cost benefit analysis. For me, it's not worth it. Because one, you can die, in which case you don't even get your degree, right? I mean, you work 2 years and you die without even getting a degree. Now, how sucky is that? I mean, that sucks. That sucks, I mean, at least when you die, you could die as, clinical nurse leader or Masters of Science in clinical nurse leader. MS-CNL, right next to your name in your tombstone. Like, you can actually claim that, But like, if you get COVID-19 during clinical and you die, let's say before the graduation day, you don't even get the degree. Jeez, that sucks. So, my rationale is this, because obviously you're signing a waiver because you can die. I mean, why else are you forced to sign a waiver to participate in a clinical? So it's not like volunteering for a soup kitchen. This is like you're rushing Normandy, and they're not even paying you to do that. And I'm like, I mean, you could do a lot of good in the world, I mean, geez. So my rationale, I'm just sharing how I think. Obviously, it's different from how other people think, and I'm not saying one thought form is right or wrong, but my rationale is this. And also, the waiver form says if you get sick with COVID and your medical bills go up, you have to pay your own medical bills. So you go to there for no pay. If you get COVID and you need a surgical procedure because you get stroke from COVID, and your insurance doesn't cover full, you have to pay 20% copay. Geez, that's like what? It could be like $5,000, $10,000. You have to pay for that. So, obviously I don't think that it's worth the risk, because I'd rather work as a nurse, as a clinical nurse leader, full-time in a hospital, risking COVID death with a paycheck every 2 weeks. I mean, you're actually making a big difference. I mean, we've been doing clinicals for 2 years now. So it's almost like playing house in a hospital. I feel like I will learn more from like simulations that we do, because that's so different from actual hospital clinical, which we've been doing for 2 years. Normal unit. It's not like an ICU or an emergency room, right? I'd rather do the simulations because you learn something new, something that you don't learn. And these simulations are like thousands of dollars. And, Georgetown's going to pay for it. So you get to do these simulations that you cannot personally pay for when you graduate from nursing school or before you graduate from nursing school. And nursing school pays for that. So, yeah, it's definitely worth it. And then you do these other kind of exercises that are a little bit different. You may learn other things, new skills. So it seems like it's a better way to go, like in my opinion. I've thought about this from different angles. So right now I'm in the non-clinical clinical group, or what Georgetown University is calling opt-out clinical group, because we opt out of going to the hospital to do what we normally do. So we're opt-out group. I consider me as opt-in group. I opt in to virtual clinical experience. I mean, for the next 4 years, nursing students may have virtual clinical experience. So that may be the standard for next 4 years for somebody who's entering BSN. But for us who've done like clinical in an actual hospital setting, this virtual simulation clinical, that's kind of new. It's kind of like US Army, like, it's like next generation nursing clinical, So it has an exciting dimension to it. And we only get it like in one summer, in the summer. Once we get out of summer, it's all real world nursing, right? We're dealing with COVID patients and stuff like that. So this is the only time you can like do virtual simulation stuff. And, so I mean, for me, like, I feel like I opt into that, special experience that we didn't get for the first 2 years. Because first 2 years, it's been mostly traditional nursing stuff. None of this like next generation. Had COVID-19 not happened, we would not have done any simulation on computer. And simulation on computer is kind of like next generation, right? So I feel like I'm getting more than what I paid for. I'm getting my money's worth. So that's why I think I'm like opting in to next generation clinical experience, And in a sense, we're lab rats as well, because they're testing out new next generation stuff on us. But it's new next generation stuff without the COVID-19 threat. Whereas like people who go to hospital, they're technically opt-in group, opt-into hospital clinical, but they're doing the same thing. I mean, give medication, assessment, I enjoy all that, but you don't get paid and you have COVID-19 risk. You don't know which patient is in incubation period, prodromal period, and you get infected. And did you know that if you get infected with COVID-19, you cannot even take exams? Like, I'm registered for clinical nurse leader certification exam. And you can't even take that if you have COVID-19. Like, not only can you take that if you have COVID-19, if you have been exposed to any patient in the hospital who later is diagnosed with COVID-19, let's say the same day or day after, you cannot take CNO exam. And the period when you could take it is like a few weeks. You have to wait till like winter. And you may not be able to take it then because of, flu season and COVID-19. I mean, so another consideration that I had was, if I go to clinical, I could be exposed to COVID-19 patient even if I don't get it. Just by being exposed to COVID-19 patients, I have to isolate for 14 days, and I'm not allowed to take the exam, CNO exam. It's like money down the drain. You cannot take it. The last day you could take it is like August 6th or August 7th or whatever. And you have to wait till the next period. It's like months later. And so, yeah, I'm like, why would you want to risk that? Like, I'm not saying to you, but you could risk whatever you want. I mean, for myself, I was like, geez, I paid like $450. How much was that? And if I'm exposed to a COVID-19 patient that's like out of my control, I can't even take that exam. I'm so ready to take that exam, So, yeah, so that's, yeah. So I said, that, geez, it's like a lose-lose situation. I don't see any angle where I win by going to a hospital and being in a clinical in the month of July. Because number one, you can die from COVID-19, the worst case scenario. Number two, You may get COVID and be really sick, you know, that's bad case scenario. It could happen. Um, Another case scenario is you may not get COVID at all, but you're exposed to a patient who has COVID and you can't take the CNL exam. That's like third ranked bad case scenario. I mean, where is the win in this whole scenario? So for me, I'm very happy with the decision I made to actually opt out, or what I call opt in, to the new next generation clinical experience. So I'm very excited about that. I have 3.49 GPA, probably among the higher end among my core members, the A- average. Ready to start working as a nurse in August. Everything's going well. All I have to do is just like, smooth sailing to graduation, and then I'm on the hospital floor working, helping COVID patients. But I'll have a paycheck every 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, life is, why rush? I mean, we'll be doing this like rest of our lives. Some people may die by Christmas, or the rest of our lives, maybe like a few months. But I mean, why rush? I mean, for me, I'm like, there's nothing new that's going to happen in the hospital, the clinical setting. We've been doing this thing for 2 years. I mean, same old clinical. I mean, last clinical was kind of fun because it was complex nursing, and, we worked at the cardiac step-down unit, more complex patients, working with telemetry. Excuse me. So that was kind of fun, you're learning new stuff, telemetry, and I had a great clinical instructor, Paula, and she was like, we would talk things out about telemetry issues, and the patients were more complex, with complex conditions. So we got more stuff to talk about. It was so fun, and the clinic was talking with Professor Paula and learning. She knows so much. She's been like, working in like ICU and emergency hot room for like decades. So like just, picking her brain on stuff, it was really, really fun, But yeah, I mean, like now it's like, I don't even know they're going to be working on the cardiac unit. I think they're just working like a med surge. Well, med surge is fun. I like med surge, but I mean, I think like I think they said they're going to put the clinical students in like the least like complicated setting, which is probably more like our first clinical when we first started, like fundamentals clinical. I mean, that was fun too. I mean, I have to say, I enjoy clinical. I like working at the hospital, so I mean, but so I guess it could be fun, but I mean, like considering all those case scenarios, I think it's yeah, more power to you, I mean, more power to you that you're going there and doing that. But I love you guys. I love you guys. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed and have fun. You probably will have a lot of fun, but I hope none of you get COVID. Fingers crossed. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I'm just sending positive thoughts. When you feel it, positive thoughts coming in your direction. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah. I just feel like doing a cheer once again. CNL, CNL, CNL 2020, CNL, CNL 2020. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to me. Congratulations to us. Yay. Hopefully all of us, 25 of us, will be there though in August. Yeah, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. It is a killer virus, and we are in the middle of a second peak, or not middle, beginning of second peak. Yeah, so yeah, so I am concerned. I care about you. I worry about you guys. So yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I hope you're having a great time celebrating Independence Day. That's tomorrow, but yeah. So yeah. So best wishes to all of you, and yeah, and thanks for stopping by to see this show, everyone. from all around the world. I know I have a global fan base. So you're in the right channel to see what you need to see to survive COVID-19 and to save your children. So check back tomorrow. This is a daily show, and I'll bring you more information you need to survive COVID-19. So yeah, so I look forward to seeing you, and yeah, so be well, everyone, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.